This festival is all about School of Visual Arts alumni, both in film and animation, and we had 9 screenings across 4 days. And this outstanding documentary, Patrick, if you don't already know, is an SVA alumnus, and we have one of his collaborators, Timothy now it's in my head, Saccenti. I got it, Saccenti. Timothy Saccenti is here as well, one of his collaborators, and who also has a ton of music videos. If you pass them in the lobby, there's about 6 or 7 music videos that Timothy made that are outstanding. So definitely take a look at those on your way out if you didn't catch them. There's also virtual reality in the lobby as well. But first, before we screen our feature, we have some short films that are going to screen before that, and we're going to do a quick Q&A with the filmmakers of those short films. The short films are titled From Light to Dark, which features a chair of one of our academic programs here at SVA, and a Life in Words and Letters, which features a faculty member. Both of those are by alumnus and one of SVA staff members, Benita Raphan. And then followed by that, we'll show The Little Violinist by alumnus Wang, an alumnus from our MPS directing program, which was called Live Action Short Film, which she attended, I think. And I want to bring them up with our moderator for this evening, Miwa Sakurat, who is a current student in the BFA film program, which Patrick graduated from, right? Yeah. So let's bring those 3 up and give them a round of applause. They'll do a few questions, and then we'll show the films.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this screening. I'm so excited. Hi, Patrick. I'm a little starstruck myself since I'm a really big fan of the documentary. But we have 2 really fantastic shorts to open up the night. So, Yang and Benita, first, thank you for coming. I'm so excited to see these films on the big screen. Tell me about your experience as students at SVA and how that prepared you for making this film.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. Adam, I'm not sure where you went, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's great to be here with you and Yang and Patrick. And I think the nice thing about this festival is that it mostly has, I believe, animation and film people, and I actually graduated from the graphic design program here at SVA, and I subsequently studied graphic design at the Royal College of Art in London, and then gravitated toward some of the film students, but didn't formally study film. So I think it's exciting because there are so many opportunities to get into filmmaking. I forget the director's name, but last year one of the feature film directors was also a graduate from our department who made Lars and the Real Girl. And there are a lot of opportunities. You can be telling a personal story, you can become a photographer and become a filmmaker, you can study film, you can be an actor, an actress, you can be an editor. So it's an exciting time to be in the industry, and I don't think only 2 departments represent, the breadth of what someone can do.
Hi, I'm Yang. I graduated from the live action short film department 2 years ago. It was focusing on film directing, so I think now it's called film directing for that major.
Yeah.
I think it prepared me really well because I didn't study film before I went into the program, and the only chance I got was a great opportunity, which was 2 years before I entered the program. I was invited to go to Cannes Film Festival, and then I made my very first short film there without any experience, but it was a Super 8 film, so I didn't really experience with any, digital or. It was a very small production with me and my friend, 2 people.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting.
So I didn't actually study film before I went into the graduate program, but I think it prepared me pretty well because my film won the best film at the end. So, thanks.
Yeah. That's amazing. So it's so interesting that you didn't really get a very vast, I'm a film major, so it's my entire life and my work and my study is all surrendered around film. So coming from me, how has your career in filmmaking evolved since your experience at SVA?
Well, I think, like you said, my whole life is involved with films and editing and making films and everything is driving toward one force, but we all come there in different places. I had a background in design and typography, and when I went to make films, that vocabulary very much informed where I came from. And instead of kind of doing a book or doing a flat, an object that had, just one purpose, I really wanted to tell stories that were longer, that were more meaningful. But I felt that the background that I had kind of prepared me for that. So, like you said, people come from different places, and I think there's different reason why we think this is something that we want to do, and ultimately people kind of come, end up with different kinds of products, and I think that's why this is so exciting, because it's a very collaborative industry, and you have the opportunity to meet other people, and a lot of people can participate and kind of make a project better.
For sure.
Wait, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask how your career evolved since making this film and since graduating here.
So this film I made for my thesis graduate. So I graduated right after making this film. And I went on to, I agree with what you said, prepare me very well as like a storytelling director. And so I went on to be a film director for more commercialized projects for companies like Wilhelmina Models, and I worked as a director for IBM for 2 years for their creative studios. But at the same time, I also do projects on my own, like do music videos and small commercials. And I've actually been working on a feature screenplay that's inspired by my short film for 2 years now, and now we're trying to get into pre-production and working with the producer on that. So hopefully I'll make a feature out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
If you all like it.
Good luck with that. And one more thing before we do the screening, is there anything you want the audience to know about your films before we show them on this big old screen?
I'm gonna let you
Fun
start
facts.
this time.
I was like, I'm preparing my answers. Well, I think you have to see it to know there are a lot of background stories that happened to the film. Actually, there's one interesting thing I want to share. Is I wrote my screenplay at school, which was the pre-production. The first half year of the program is focused on screenwriting. But then after I filmed this, actually I had to break down my screenplay in order to make the story work, because things happen on set and things that didn't get filmed.
Of course.
So it's actually a completely different order from my screenplay, but I think it worked. So that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Benita?
Well, firstly, I'm so excited to have this opportunity to be in this great theater and see these on a big screen. So that's a really fun thing. But secondly, these are two short films that Adam had selected from some. These were two pieces that I put together that are part of a longer series, just about mentors and inspiration. And coincidentally, the films are about people that I studied with here at SVA. And it's exciting because there's a lot of incredibly creative people teaching here and working here and making films and making art in the school. So it's just ties together very nicely with it being a screening. And then I look forward to seeing the feature.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
All right,
coming.
let's get this show on the road.
We're going to start getting Patrick on stage. So I want to thank a few people. I know he's got a few people to thank as well. But first of all, I want to thank Patrick for being here. And we've been talking over email for the past few months. So thank you for making the trip. His whole staff, especially Judy, who I've been talking to at Chelsea Jewish Foundation at the center. Hey, there you are. Good to see you. Thank you. As well as Darren Hallinan, who's one of the producers of the movie. He'll be coming on stage with Patrick to go through some of the questions. We prepared some of the questions in advance so Patrick could answer them. He may be able to take one or two questions from the audience on the fly, but he'll still need a little bit of prep time. We'll see if he's able to do that. I also have, as I mentioned, another SVA alum, Timothy Saccenti, here, and he's going to be on the panel as well. So if Miwa and Timothy, and we'll get Patrick up here as well. I also wanted to thank Don Shanley. Where are you, Don? There you are. Family member, if you don't already know Don. I know a lot of the families in the audience, so thank you for coming. I know Patrick's parents are in the audience as well. But Don was the one who brought the idea to have a screening at SVA to David Rhodes, the president of SVA, to his attention. And so I thought this was the perfect place. I'd seen the film at Tribeca. It won the Audience Award in 2015, and I thought this was the perfect place to add it into to really screen it properly at SVA. Trying to think if there was anyone else. Oh, Michelle Dupree. Michelle, are you here? I don't see Michelle, but Michelle also. That's all right, but Michelle was also really helpful with this. You saw her in the film. So I'm going to read some bios while we take the stage. Miwa, if you want to take the chair on the end, and then we'll get Patrick on that way. No, you got those mics. You got mics on the chair. And Darren, if you want to sit next to Patrick, and then Timothy, if you want to take the middle seat. But so I'll introduce Timothy first. Timothy's music video work, as I mentioned, we're screening in the lobby. He's both a director and a photographer. His groundbreaking visual output includes influential and genre-defying films for artists ranging from indie icons Animal Collective, Run the Jewels, and Square Pusher to legends Depeche Mode, Pharrell, and Erykah Badu. His commercials include the controversial Playface's television campaign for the launch of the Sony PS3, as well as spots for Nike, Diesel, and Audi. As a fine artist, Saccenti has exhibited in galleries in Tokyo and Paris. His not-for-profit work includes award-winning campaigns for Oxfam and Africa United. And Africa Untied, We've Got Your Back Ebola awareness campaign featuring Idris Elba. Timothy's first monograph, Portraits 01, was published in 2014, and he has won multiple Cannes Lions for his book Formation. And I also want to cite Patrick's website, if you didn't catch it in the film, pobf.org. But Patrick Sean O'Brien, a.k.a. DJ Transfatty, is an artist and filmmaker. Born in 1974 in Edison, New Jersey, he attended the School of Visual Arts and has lived in New York for much of his life. When he was diagnosed with ALS in May 2005, he decided to embark on his most ambitious project yet, a feature-length documentary about his journey, which went on to win the Audience Award at 2015 Tribeca Film Festival. As we know, Patrick is currently based in Massachusetts at the Leonard Foster Center for Living, and please visit patrickobrienfoundation.org for more information. We all ready? We all set?
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. And if you all want to move down, feel free. Like let's bring it all in.
Let's be more of a family.
Why not?
Here.
If you feel like moving down, let's make this a family thing.
Oh my God. Well, oh my goodness, guys, how amazing was this film? If it was your first time watching it, your fifth time watching it, iconic. Oh my God. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Don. Hi, Tim. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I feel like I fangirled enough over email, but I'm gonna probably do it again. Oh my goodness. So since I'm a young filmmaker in the big old city at SVA, I wanted to know, first off, like, what was the experience of being a student here, and how has that transcended into the rest of your work? For all of you.
One of the most influential parts of my experience at SVA, besides from the amazing classes and faculty of course, was the fact that my campus was New York City. I fed off of the energy and creative forces that surrounded me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel definitely the same way. Like, there's nothing like living here and being an artist and being surrounded by artists. There's a lot of support and a lot of influence that you can take from this place. And so that leads to my next question. What did you learn? What did you learn here? Did you learn anything?
I would have to say shooting 35mm film. Most of Transfatty Lives was shot on 35. Not a lot of documentaries can say that today. Shooting on film was very important to me, for achieving the look and the tone. While we also shot just about every other format, 35mm is the heart and soul of the film.
Yeah, truly. It really comes in like the texture and the feeling of everything. Everything feels very hands-on and like very meticulously framed and placed. And that doesn't happen anymore since I'm making my thesis film soon, and a bunch of us are going to be making our thesis films this year. We're like, money.
And you really did shoot every other format, but it was mostly
Amazing.
35, and there was a lot of film to go through.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine the
lot.
material.
Yeah.
So speaking of my thesis, I don't want to make it about me, but speaking of thesis, because that's the only thing that I can think about, what was your thesis film like?
My thesis film was called UFO Mofo. We show a couple of clips from that film in Transfatty Lives, including the opening to the documentary. Are you ready to go to the moon, Average?
Yeah, exactly. And so speaking of that, since I'm a documentarian, I came here and I didn't know I wanted to do it, but now I kind of figured out that this is what I want to do, and I edit most of them. And I couldn't stop thinking about the editing process. Of course, like the amount of footage that you guys had, and then crossing over between like the narrative, nonfiction, becoming more experimental. There's a lot happening here. So I wanted to ask what the editing process was like.
Actually, the most difficult thing was the edit. We were very lucky to meet executive producer Doug Prey. To me, Doug is a mythic figure. Every filmmaker dreams about meeting someone like Doug Prey. He broke down the 85 hours of material into 3 acts. Along with editor Lasse Jarvi, who over the span of 2 years, designed the ebb and flow of the edit.
Fantastic. And Tim, I wanted to ask about your involvement in this film, because I saw you a few times in there.
I'm just Patrick's drug dealer.
We all need one.
Cool, let's talk later.
See you after. Still short from last time. Bitch!
And then, what was your experience on making this and collaborating on this
well,
with the
Patrick-
drugs?
Okay, when the drugs were off, we were still friends. But Patrick has a group of collaborators and friends, as he does now. And again, like bringing back to your question about what is it like why do you go to SVA or school in New York? Like the thing is, it's not even about what you learn in the school. It's that you're introduced to all of these different people who are extremely creative, and the geography of the city means that you can run into the people and interact with these people. You're not separated. It's not like you're in a place like Los Angeles or something where you have to get in a car and you can't stay out all night and you can't interact and have these organic relationships. So Patrick had all these organic relationships happening around him, and I was lucky enough to be early on in the process of the film. Had been collaborating on films and other small pieces. I had never done a film piece before. And I learned a lot about making films from working with Patrick on some of his projects. I was a still photographer mainly, and from that I became more of a filmmaker myself. But I had no idea. It's like a walled garden. How do you make a film? Like you have no idea unless you actually do it. So or around people who do it. So Patrick taught me a lot about that. But we have a very similar sense of humor and a very similar visual style, which is to do something like over the top. We're both also from New Jersey, which is like, who's from New Jersey here? Yeah! Get out. No.
What are you doing here?
No,
We're in New York
no,
City.
No New Jersey people. But what was interesting in the process of the film was watching it. I mean, when you make a documentary, I've never done one. Like, you don't know how it ends.
Right. You kind of just walk in, you have all this stuff, and you're like, well, something's going to happen.
And you keep making it. And Patrick kept making it, and went through all these like iterations where some versions were more visual and the story was more meandering, or maybe some were more about the story. But then I think once they figured out that the way to frame it was in a love letter to his son, then a lot of the pieces that sometimes were just like purely visual, insane things that maybe on their own would spin out of control, like somehow functionally moved into this world where you're like, okay, this is the this is the somatic person that I understand. Is
Right, and the film kind of builds an atmosphere in itself. Kind of once you get into it, you fall into like this visual, very like brain mechanized
Yeah.
fantasy. I don't know. It's
Yeah, his films
yeah.
are always hallucinogenic and transportive.
Right.
And that's, you don't see that very often in a documentary.
Oh, absolutely not. It's all, interview a few people, get
talking
some
heads.
Yeah, a lot of that.
And-
Like a nice sunset, time lapse, throw it in
Yeah.
there.
Well, I think like the only talking head in this was like your father, and I think that was a good nod to him, being like he would want to be in a talking head, framed as like a serious guy. Like you're not gonna see him with like a melting face.
If only.
Unless. No,
Part two.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And as I've explained, my favorite moment in this film was the BM. I love that so much, and the juxtaposition with the whole church thing happening. But I wanted to know, what was both of your favorite moments in this film?
The moments of the film that are the most special to me would be, first, falling in love with Laura. I was blessed with meeting and falling in love with her at one of the most difficult times in my life. She believed in me and gave me the strength to keep fighting, and also believed in my film. I'm not sure I would have made it this far without her. But most importantly, she gave me the utmost special gift in the world, with the birth of my son Sean.
And what about you, Tim?
There's so many moments. No, just.
Yeah, there are.
I think when I was down for the scenes when we were filming at Howard Johnson's,
Oh yeah, sweet.
and that's like the world Patrick occupied, which no one else really did that I knew. Like this world of going and seeing some beauty in the decay, and I mean that might be something you think is maybe a little bit more commonplace now, but like that in like 2005, 2006, like that wasn't like an interesting thing to do.
For
you know?
sure.
It wasn't fashionable to do that kind of thing. I think once this moment in the film when the enlightenment by shotgun scene where the
Yeah.
building collapses in slow motion, and
Oh my
kn-
God,
so
what a
much had been
moment.
building up. So much had been building up to that in the production of things with Ian, the director of photography, like going and filming so much amazing stuff. And once that happened, it seemed to be like that was almost like the moment where it felt like, okay, so this is transcending itself as like a documentary. He's using the concept of the birth of a child as the framework for his story, but then he's using his story as the framework for something more transcendent than that. And for that when that moment happened, I thought, oh, this is leveling us to get above a standard documentary.
Exactly. It adds a whole other level and a whole new layer to
It's like
just
a
what we all think a
spiritual-
documentary is.
You don't think of Howard Johnson's as like a spiritual mecca, but for someone it is, and you project yourself into that world
Absolutely.
in that. So I think.
Sweet.
I can't answer that. I mean, this is probably, I don't know, I've seen the film 100 times.
Yeah.
And I can sit through it 100 more. Just every part of it's very special. And, I'll agree the parts with Sean and stuff are very moving and emotional. But, I mean, I've been seeing this footage for so long now. And once it actually kind of took shape, like he said, meeting the important team of Doug Prey and Lasse Jarve, the editor, and what they did, because it was at a point where, you get kind of stuck. You're living with the same footage for years and years, and you just don't know what to do next. And finding somebody like Doug and him bringing in his editor, and, you try to be optimistic, but you're like, I don't know, we've seen it so many different ways. Once they delivered that to, as a cohesive piece, you just sat back and you were like, okay, that's the story. There it is.
Yeah.
So it's just every piece of it is really special.
That's beautiful. And I totally agree. I mean, this is like my third time watching the documentary. And this is one of the films that makes me want to keep on making films. And it's a really special feeling to have, especially as a stifling young artist. So before I open the audience up to asking a question, I understand there are some people in the audience that are here supporting you. So if they want to come up and introduce themselves, I'm sure everyone would love to say hello. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, sure, take the stage.
I just wanted to say, I met him doing one of his short films at the studio right on 25th, I believe. And it was one of my, I'm in my late 30s now, and I met him as a younger actor. And it's just, I don't even know what I'm going to say, but basically it was just such an amazing experience, being like so authentic right from the bat, which was kind of spoiled me working and being real. And one of the most special moments was us passing gas together. Made it real comfortable, and I never will forget that. But no, it was a great experience. Other than that, you could see he had that eye and that visual, and it was just, you could tell he can direct. I mean, this guy was ahead of his time. The stuff he was already making, the cartoons, the man with the smallest penis. And not to be cheesy, I'm not making fun of it. I just it's brilliant. But I'm just great. It's great to see you, man. It's been a while. And thank you for sharing your truth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So for the audience having more questions, I would like to tell everybody that there are 2 mics set up. Bing, bing, over there, if you want to walk on up. But while that's going on, I just wanted to say to Patrick, first of all, love the look tonight. I have always wanted my own sweatsuit with sparkles on it, and as a little girl, I didn't get that. So now, as a bigger person,
Director goals.
director goals, absolutely. So love the looks, and thank you for.
That's going to go on for a while.
I'm blushing.
Now, what you hear is not a test. Rapping to the beat, and me, groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello to the black, to the white, the brown, the purple, and yellow. But first, I got a bang bang, the boogie to the boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the bang bang boogie. Let's rock. You don't stop. Rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock.
Oh my goodness. That was iconic. So we have our first audience question. Thank you for that, Patrick. I'm going to take that to my grave. Yeah, go for it, dude.
I can't follow that. That's going to be very hard with this. I graduated SVA with Patrick. He was, we knew back then the juggernaut of creativity that he was. And it was, it's just, this film means so much to me because I've known him since then, but it also, say again?
He can't see you that way, so come up on stage so he can see you. Let's do that.
Yeah.
No, I say hello, Patrick. Besides how much the film means to me, because I know him, I really think it's a masterpiece, like an absolute masterpiece. That its time is still ahead of it, you know. So you know, a part of me wants to say like it's so interesting to be here, and it's like full circle. From when we were kids over there and down the street. But that is insane. You know, like the circle hasn't even begun yet with this film, and I really believe that. I just have a very quick question that you don't have to answer now, like maybe you could do it on Facebook or something, but it's just a really small question. Like, I want to know what your dreams are like now. Because you were saying how, you know, might have been a couple of years ago, that your dreams about walking, and I'm just curious about that. And I'm also curious about you said that something about how your mental enlightenment was in direct proportion to your physical deterioration, and I want to know if that is still ongoing. Don't answer that now. On Facebook or something, or email me. Thanks.
Good question.
Thanks.
Do we have any more questions in the audience?
Yes, hi. My name is E. Harris. I just want to say you're excellent, and it's hard to get good help out there, and I appreciate you making this movie because it supports a lot of people with disabilities, and I appreciate your work. So I just wanted to know, were you coming out with a part 2? God bless.
Good question.
Darren, do you know part 2?
Well, we're working on it. How about that?
Hi, this was really just a remarkable experience, and I have to say that ALS certainly doesn't get the exposure that it needs to, other than the Ice Bucket Challenge, which actually did some good, which was fantastic to hear that wasn't all in vain because it was cold. I'm from New Jersey, very familiar with the Asbury Park area. Have parents that work in the medical field. My grandfather was a paraplegic, so I'm just wondering where we can find this film to show it to more people, because I know a lot of people back home who would appreciate it for a number of reasons.
It's on Netflix right now.
It's on Netflix?
Yep.
Fantastic.
It's on Netflix. It's on iTunes. But if you have Netflix, share it, watch it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi there. Hi, Patrick. It's Debbie from New Jersey. How you doing? Darren, you had talked to me earlier about how to show the film for fundraising, and I thought that was a great thing, and I just wanted to, thought it would be great if you and Patrick could just let everyone know about it, because I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about it, and I think that's a great venue, and it'll do a lot of good.
Yeah,
so.
we partnered up with.
And one other thing,
Yeah, go
Patrick,
ahead.
thanks again for everything.
So we partnered up with a company called Tug, and it's sort of through social media. So if you go to our link, which you can find online at on our Facebook page, Transfatty Lives, anybody could set up a screening anywhere. So that's what kind of Tug does. Is you would go into the site and request a screening. If you were doing a fundraiser, or if you just wanted to get a gathering together in a local theater. You just go online, you request the screening, and then you promote it through social media. And once you get a certain amount of people, once you get enough talk and buzz about it, then they go ahead and actually plan the screening for you, find the venue in your local area, and it can happen that way. So yeah, it's called Tug, and the link is on our Facebook page.
And Tug is Tuggg.
Yes.
You're not. Any other questions? If you wouldn't mind coming up here, if you're not no stage fright.
No. Patrick, I came in with something totally, a different idea of what this was going to be about. And I can say your son is beautiful. I can also say that what you've done and the opening of eyes, so many people's eyes, whether they're physicians, it's got to be amazing for physicians to be able to know, firsthand with someone who's so able to articulate in the way that you're doing all of this to change our world, and that certainly is going to happen. And your son doesn't have the father going to the bank with a case in his hand, but he's got way more, and he's certainly going to consider you a hero his whole life. So thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, thank you so much for this. I'm a little shaky from experiencing it for the first time. I was hoping that you could elaborate on your commitment to the amount of time that you stayed with this film, and it was over the period of several years, and talk about what motivated the crew and what kept everyone going and maintaining that the common goal of capturing this.
I mean, my experience was with Patrick before he was starting the film, and then throughout the process here and there. Once he left New York, other people took over in various teams and iterations. I mean, I could imagine the experience that I had and my friends had was just initially being inspired already because we were already inspired by him. You meet Patrick, you see him in the film, that energy that you get from there is genuine. So that you just want to be around him. You want to hang out with him. He's one of the most hilarious people you'll ever meet. It's just a complete natural energy that happens each time in a new situation. And then just from my point of view, it was an inspiring figure to the people around us. And then and the different people who took over, and there's just so many people involved in this project. So many people gave so much time. I can't speak for anybody who did that, but he's just, all the time he has this vision in his mind, and you want to follow it. And that never, ever faltered, no matter what was happening. So, I mean, that's all I can imagine everyone else saw as well.
It was. I mean, it's, it's sort of easy to work with Patrick, too, I mean, sometimes. But
It's not.
Once you start, it's not. That's a lie.
It's not.
When you started working on it, you knew what you were working on, and it was how special it was going to be. And, it started in 2005. I mean, you see his leg shaking on the train. That's it. That's the first part. And so, having that moment right when it began and the whole journey and coming on board. I've known Patrick actually since he started going to school at SVA. I was working at I just started in the business myself at an audio post house, and we were teaching a film sound class, and he came in as part of SVA, and that's where I first met him, and then that was it from there. Started working on a couple of films for that he made, and it's just the energy. So you asked how, 10, 11 years, how can you keep working on it? Well, it was just the energy and, Patrick's, his attitude and, his humor.
And constant demands.
And yeah, he wouldn't let us leave the room.
It was a little bit demanding.
Can I actually second that? I also know Patrick for like maybe 15 years. We know each other before he got sick, and I've been helping him through, making a little piece of the film through the years. And one of the things that really kept us all around was that actually it's hilarious. And I know people were saying, oh my God, you're going to see your friend, this guy with ALS, and poor you. And like, I'll be like, no, I'm actually looking forward. I'm gonna come back. My ribs are gonna hurt from laughing so hard. I'm gonna have a great time. And that's one of the things that really keep all of us around. And yes, one time you fired me from a job, demanding, because I arrived late and hangover, and you hired me. I won't forget.
We got another question right here.
Yeah, 35 millimeter film is really, really, really expensive. And how did you manage that? Because it'd be so much easier with mini DV and.
Short ends, I guess.
Yeah. Ian, are you here, DP?
I don't know. Ian's a cinematographer.
I don't think we made it. He was very demanding about everything being on film, and even when I started shooting music videos, he was like, "You have to shoot film." I had to stop because I couldn't afford it. But he knew the whole time from the beginning that this was going to be seen on a giant screen. Like, I remember even the first time we were shooting something, and Ian was shooting he has like a Russian camera where the really lovely lens, but the focus is a little bit off, and we were shooting the shots of him on the floor trying to get up, and a shot was slightly out of focus, and we're looking at it on a little video playback, and we're like, it's okay. And he's like, when it's 50 feet long, you're going to be able to see that, and when it's 25 feet high, so we have to reshoot it. And we reshot it. And so he knew from the beginning that this had to be that quality.
And also throughout the years too, the film was in various places. So as soon as we got into the post process, it was like, okay, we got to find the film now.
Yeah.
Because some of it was here, some of it was at somebody else's house, and then once we gathered it, then we had to find the takes.
We scanned. It was negative
Negative.
film. It was
Yeah.
what was it? No, it was 35 negative film. It was. We had it in storage for like 3 years. Some of it because it got transferred. It got like telescened like as a one light.
SD. It was
One
originally
light
transferred at SD. Yeah.
and then so it was like kind of flat and 70 to or 40 by 40 480 and 720 by 480, and then all of a sudden it was getting closer to doing an online, and it was like, where's the film? And everyone's like, oh yeah. Luckily I found my stuff.
We had a couple of
I had
really-
been holding like
we had a
8
couple of
reels
really
in
good
the
assistants.
storage lockers.
We had
for
some really nice
years.
assistants actually, because we literally had boxes and stacks of film, and where's this take? No idea. It's somewhere in there. So we had some really great assistants and good people actually just putting it on a bench and finding out what was what and then retransferring it.
And in 2006, when it started,
There was no HD.
No, that you
really.
had it was mini DV, and then
Yeah.
really we didn't have like proper HD until 2009 or something, right? The Red and the Alexa came out.
And now, even recently, when he'll talk about a project that he has in mind too, he's like, "All right, we're shooting film." I'm like, "Nah, dude, we don't have to shoot film now. Now we really do have great video." And he's like, "Nope, we're shooting film."
Yeah. Well, because the film also makes it so that you don't need a DIT, you don't need text, you don't need batteries half the time. Some of the stuff that you're doing, you can just grab the camera and one person can hold it. The crews were really small. All that stuff that's like shot at the Howard Johnson's with the buildings falling, and it's like kind of it's like an anamorphic lens, I think we were using. There was only like 2 people there. There's no focus puller or anything. It's like it's hard to do that if you want to go out with like a digital team. The batteries would have been dead half the time.
And it's really not. I mean, it's a physical media, so you shoot it and you actually have something
feel
you
it.
can look at.
Yeah.
And
it's-
Patrick's a photographer before he was even a filmmaker. I was a big fan of his photography. He was very like Larry Clark on psychedelics or something with a sense of humor, like underground kind of stuff, but funnier and bizarre. And I think that has never left him. What was his phrase? Bury me with my 16 millimeter lens, 24 millimeter Pentax lens. It was on his Pentax K7. Yep.
Fantastic.
Is there a 35 millimeter print of the film? We could have.
That we talked him out of.
Well, Patrick, if you ever film and have a
Don't
print of
just,
35,
can we just let that go and stop talking about that
We could
right
show
now,
it here.
please?
Give him ideas.
I can't imagine that conversation.
Any other questions? Any last things? Okay, Patrick. I don't know. You were started to say something at some point, so.
Oh, he's going to do the rap again.
That could be the outro. Well, I want to thank Miwa. I want to thank Timothy, Darren, and especially Patrick. Thank you guys so much, and thank you all for coming. We really, really, really appreciate it.